Hello everyone, I'm Sigve Brekke, the Group CEO of the Telenor Group. We are a mobile operator operating across the Nordics and in Asia. We have called this the Tech Telco Talk, and it's the second episode where I have invited guests and to talk about how technology is changing the landscape and technology companies and telco companies coming together and what that really means. And today I'm very pleased to have two guests with me to discuss that topic. It is Adam Selipsky, the CEO of Amazon Web Services, as we all know, leading cloud service company globally. And I have Erlend Presgaard, the CEO of Workgroup 2, a software and application provider. So let's jump into it. And let me start with you, a question to you, Adam. And actually, let me start with not a technical question, but a cultural question. I know that you have been Amazon from the early days. And my first question is, what is your advice on how to combine building a strong technology culture and at the same time building a customer-centric culture? And also, in addition to building an internal culture, also helping customers to change their culture such that it's a future-proof way of working. Please, Adam.
Well, thanks so much for having me on today. I really appreciate the chance to have a conversation with both of you. The cultural question is really central. I mean, we see more and more as I spend time with folks like the two of you and many other CEOs and CIOs around the world. At the end of the day, the cloud technology is a means to an end, and ultimately it is about transforming the organization. And that sounds like a big claim, but those are the conversations we're having more and more. And what leaders are realizing is that by moving to the cloud, by undergoing a digital and a data transformation, that what they can really do is to put data at the center of decision making. They can move faster. They can be more innovative. And ultimately, what that implies is a cultural transformation about how the organization actually operates. Now, to make that happen and to push that in productive direction, I think that certainly at Amazon, the most important thing is a concept we call customer obsession. And that goes by many names. But we really always put our understanding of the customer right at the center of our decision making. We have many, many mechanisms for understanding at an incredibly detailed level what customers want. And then we work backwards from that. We talk a lot about the working backwards process at Amazon, where we will actually write press releases and FAQs for any significant new service, any significant new feature or program. Before we even embark on building the program or building the service, we'll write the press release and FAQ and work backwards from there and decide, do we have something remarkable? Is it really worth building? And I think by really putting the customer perspective right at the center of the core decision making is the best way to undergo the cultural transformation. The other thing I'll just hit on quickly is this concept of having a very long-term perspective, long-term view, which is something that folks in the telecom industry certainly understand, long lead times on many things. But I think with software companies and a lot of other companies, it's less common, less pervasive. And Amazon has been very good at thinking 5, 10, even 20 years down the road. Amazon Web Services is a good example of that. And to understand that building for the long term, you don't just take a series of short little steps. You actually have the vision for the long term and build to that.
But on that topic, Adam, you are working with so many other companies with a legacy history, meaning having for so many years built a culture based on the yesterday business models and now trying to transform themselves into the future. What have you seen in successful companies that are trying to do exactly that? Not starting from scratch, but actually transforming themselves from a successful business into something new.
Well, every company is a little bit different, but we do see some very common success factors that we can see repeated over and over again by companies who are quickly and successfully making the transition. I would say the first is really top-down leadership. Really a leadership mandate that we are going to reinvent our business. We are going to move to the cloud. We are going to gain the customer obsession. We are going to reap not only the cost benefits, but become more agile and more innovative as a company. And I think when leaders instill that, sometimes I call it eliminating plan B. As long as you leave the option open for people in the company to wonder, is there a plan B? Is there another way? Do they really mean it? Maybe it'll change tomorrow. They spend a lot of time and energy on plan B. If you eliminate that, and there's only plan A, then everybody tends to get focused on the organization. The second thing I'll say is that it's very useful to have aggressive top-down goals. So people think, well, we have to experiment, we have to move slowly, and clearly you want to be deliberate and you want to be careful. But we've seen many teams succeed by saying, we're going to move 50 applications in a month. And there was the CIO of one very large global corporation who did that. And by doing that, it gets the team to think differently about what would we have to do in order to move quickly. And then the final thing I'll say is it's really important as to who you hire and who you develop. And I think it's really important to recruit and train people that want to build, people that want to innovate. And then you free them, you unleash them to do that. But it really starts with having the right people in the company.
Very valuable advice. It's easier said than done, I must admit that, being the CEO of a very successful company over years. And the way I look at that is that one thing is what you need to do yourself. But the main thing that you can do to actually do this cultural change is to do it through partnerships. And then you need to change from treating partners like vendors into forming more long-term strategic partnerships. And I see that a lot of the innovation that Telenor is going to do going forward, it's innovation happening in partnership like yourself and other technology companies. And that's also a way for us to change our culture. So I really appreciate that. But this is hard to do because you come from a situation where you basically are used to control the entire value chain yourself. You are used to successfully just strengthen what has already given you the success in the first place. So it's hard to do, but I think that is the way you really can transform if you are able to do that in these partnerships. And that's why it's interesting to hear how the way you are describing not only Amazon's culture, but also how you can use the strength of your culture to help your customers.
Maybe if you allow me to jump in, Sigve, I think you said one thing that I noticed, Adam, which is you're incredibly long term, and I think we see that as a customer and a user of AWS every day. There is the capacities that you build. Many of the decisions were made 5-10 years ago, so there's an incredible long termness, and that long termness is, I would say, similar for Sigve and Telenor. But I think one noticeable difference between, shall we say, AWS and Telenor is the ability to change and move fast within the long-termness, shall we say, and the degree of control of technology and the ability to build and iterate, small cycles within the long-term perspective. I think that's one of the challenges for telco is that telcos work on Gs. They work on decade-long cycles of 4G, 5G, 6G. But the ability to do micro changes within that decade, that is something that I think the industry really needs to work on, and where I think AWS also plays a very big role in enabling gradual micro improvements in a long-term perspective.
I think it's a great point. I think there's a cultural point and a technology point there. The cultural side, at Amazon, we talk sometimes about being strategically patient and tactically impatient. And the strategically patient is really having a long-term view of, we're going to get this right as a business. It may take multiple tries. We're going to have a very long-term view of it. But then, we don't just kind of keep putting more money and more people into things that aren't working. We'll adjust, we'll measure, we'll be very self-critical about what's working and what's not working. And we'll change a lot of things along the way. So it's that combination of both long-term focus but short-term adjustments. I think on the technology side, it's a very fundamental and important observation. Obviously, telco infrastructure, as you said, is not something which changes every 3 months or every year, and that's why the move to the cloud is absolutely so fundamental. And you see now. Telecoms building 5G cores in the cloud, and also starting to push 5G services out to the edge using the cloud. And I think that creates a lot more flexibility. You see people building with microservices and having automated deployments, and that speeds up all of the deployments. And having the flexibility of the cloud for the 5G core, you see this more and more is really important. And I know you folks know this very well. I mean, Telenor's Vimla is obviously a low-cost virtual mobile network brand in Sweden. And you have a cloud-based mobile core developed and managed as a service, in combination with Working Group 2, Telenor, AWS, and I think that's the type of environment. We can't invent the next generation, the next G, overnight, but we can work much more nimbly, much more rapidly, at much lower capital cost for telecoms with that type of working model.
Just picking up on what you said, Adam, and asking you a question, Adam, because you have actually taken a position in Work Group 2 to trying to disrupt the telecom industry with building core IT platforms in the cloud. And we are testing that out ourselves in one of our operations, but we have also now started to get external customers. And if that really works, this will be a very different software-based way of providing core platform services to our customers. So talk a little bit about that and how you see the potential of that.
Well, it is happening around the world, and not only with Vimla, but in the US, Dish is building from the ground up 5G based mobile network, all in AWS. And so I think there's going to be more and more of that over the next few years. I think what's more interesting than the fact that it's happening is what it enables. So and really at the core of that is the ability to reimagine the customer experience. So if you think about AI and machine learning and how that's factoring in, so T-Mobile, for example, on their customer support, is able to do faster data labeling on chats with their customers, and they've actually significantly improved their message-based supports, both the accuracy as well as the number of support cases that need to come in. Verizon's another example, and they're doing predictive network maintenance now using machine learning to avoid outages. So there's really important implications of this. And then, of course, all of the end user growth opportunities. So a lot of real-time gaming, video streaming, augmented and virtual reality, and then, of course, in industrial settings, robotic manufacturing, autonomous vehicles, just so many really interesting applications. So Jaguar Land Rover is a really interesting example where either on the vehicle or with fixed infrastructure outside of the car, they're deploying AWS services or wavelength to be able to interact, video from the car, interacting in real time with that edge-based AWS infrastructure to get instantaneous feedback for things like pedestrian obstacles at intersections. So just an incredible array, both from entertainment to safety to manufacturing efficiency. I think we're just at the beginning.
Is that how you see it, Alan?
Yeah, I think if I can maybe add a little bit, I think what we're going to see is in many ways what AWS did to data centers. You're going to see something similar happening to operators. So I guess one way of looking at what AWS did to data centers is, everybody had their own data centers running in their own specific ways that were fairly closed and quite specific to the individual deployments. AWS comes in, deploys globally consistent infrastructure. They API it and make it available for third parties. They invite third parties to build on top of and to publish their products in a marketplace like Logic. I think what we're going to see, and which is what Working Group 2 is working towards, is actually building global mobile core platforms for operators, where you build a globally consistent set of functionality that allows you the scale to API it and to attract developers and build global marketplaces. But that can almost only be done if you leverage globally consistent infrastructure providers like Amazon. So I think for us, AWS is an absolutely critical factor in putting our application on top of AWS in a way that allows the business dynamics that AWS unleashed in the infra layer, also in the telco application layer, to put it that way.
One question I'm often hearing, Adam, is that with now security regulations being more and more tighter due to data privacy, is there a limitation to how much we can use the cloud in this space? And is there a concern that industries like ourselves should have here in that area?
But privacy and security is an incredibly important topic. You see a lot of data sovereignty concerns, a lot of questions about national boundaries and how should data be treated within and across nations, and consumer privacy, of course, being paramount. And we've always, since day one, had security as our absolute #1 priority. No debate, no questions asked, no deviation allowed. We will drop anything if we have a security opportunity or a security issue. And we'll work on that in preference to working on anything else. So it's really cultural for us. And as a result, we have a lot of technical capabilities, both around just basic core security and also around security and privacy features that we expose to customers. And we're seeing some real innovation from our enterprise customers, as well as, of course, from our telecom partners around the world. On data residency, for example, Kuehne Nagel, of course, the giant transportation and logistics company in Canada, their particular data sovereignty requirements. So they need a hybrid solution there. So they're working with Bell Canada, working with AWS, Kuehne Nagel to store their data in AWS, but there's also an on-premise hybrid component of on-premise hardware. And that way they're compliant with Canada's data residency requirements. Another example is turnkey solutions being developed by systems integrators and consultants. So T-Systems, for example, has developed a turnkey data protection service that they're rolling out to their customers to both set up and manage the key issues around consumer and end user data protection. So I think there are huge businesses to be created in this space in partnership with companies like ours.
I was just going to say that I think there was an interesting security event that happened. It was published this week. One of the cloud providers published details on which I think is the biggest DDoS attack, the biggest denial of service attack measured to date in the industry. And I think it was something like 50 million transactions per second. And one thing I find interesting is I'm not sure anyone else but the hyperscalers are able to withstand that sort of attack anymore. So I think these security questions are often, shall we say, attacking the hyperscalers or saying that there are issues with data sovereignty, etc. I think our experience has been they're actually very good at dealing with them, and I think in the next decade you'll actually see that the hyperscalers and AWS are some of the players that are best equipped to withstand the cybersecurity threats that we will be seeing.
It's a great point. I think that number one, we're our business is at a scale, and security is so paramount to our business that we invest in security at levels that would probably be wildly irrational for most companies around the world, but make all the sense in the world for us. So we have world experts in various aspects of cybersecurity. We have many thousands of people whose only job is security. And your average chemical company or automotive manufacturers, but probably not going to do that. So that investment makes sense. And as you said, Adam, it's a great point. Given our scale, we're able to withstand a lot just given the amount of infrastructure that we provision. So depending on which third-party report you choose to believe, we're probably call it 2x the size of the kind of next closest competitor in the cloud service provider market segment. And so we do have call it at least 2x, maybe more of the infrastructure capacity. And so we do have the ability to absorb, if you will, and repel a great number of attacks that would be difficult for literally anybody else on the planet to do.
Time is running. We could have continued this for hours, but let me round up with sustainability question, which we all are driven by trying to figure out how we can contribute. And Adam, how should we be thinking about cloud technology when it comes to reducing carbon footprints and your interaction with customers in that space?
I mean, sustainability in general, and I think climate change in particular, is literally the issue of our generation. And no one party is going to solve it. We all have to work together to do that. And Amazon overall and AWS within that is investing aggressively with a very, again, long-term perspective to do so. So we've pledged as a company to be net zero carbon by 2040 across all of Amazon. We have important interim goals. One of those is to be 100% renewable energy powered by 2025, which is just around the corner. And we're already 85% renewable energy, and we're going to continue to steadily make progress over the next couple of years to get to 100%. I think it's really important for customers to understand that using the cloud is inherently more sustainable, and that there have been studies done showing that AWS data centers are 5x more energy efficient than the average European enterprise data center. That's an incredibly powerful statistic. And what it means is that just by moving to the cloud, you become more energy efficient, you become more sustainable. And it's not just about energy. Water is another great example. We put enormous innovation and engineering into all forms of sustainability. So again, water, a good example. Even on the hottest days, our largest data centers use no more water than is needed by 25 US households. So it's incredibly efficient. And the average data center just doesn't operate that way. A lot of it is about core product innovation as well. We actually design our own chips, our own silicon. Our program of our kind of basic chip is called Graviton. Graviton is actually 60% less energy consumptive than comparable compute instances in Amazon EC2 built on other third-party platforms. So we're constantly innovating to try and build the sustainability into the cloud so that all customers have to do is adopt the cloud and instantly improve their sustainability. All that said, these all have to be partnerships, and we want to partner with all of our customers, all of our other partners to collectively produce better and better sustainability solutions because it is so critical.
Wow, some strong ambitions and some strong numbers there, Adam. I think it was a good way to conclude our chat. So let me end with saying thank you so much to both of you, and we will continue the dialogue and we will continue the partnership going forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It was great to spend time with both of you.
Thank you.